Don't ever let anyone tell you anything different. There is no one in control of your life but you. And it is your responsibility to discover it and to live to its fullest potential, to not live in fear and doubt and anxiety and worry about others' things and their perception of you.
Hello, everyone. What's up? And welcome to another episode in the Evolution Podcast. And today with us on the show are Mr. J.
Hey, everyone.
And Mr. Johnson, of course, Terrence X. Johnson, Ethan P. Heisey.
Well, good morning. It's good to be here with you.
And myself, Sagi Schreiber. Ethan and I are mentees of Mr. Johnson. And this is basically the first episode probably that you're going to hear after we've been all together in Atlanta. And we are still bringing you all the goodness that we can, but obviously it's, from afar. So Mr. Johnson, we were talking about just a bit about like manifestation and the power of affirmations. I think that would be a great topic for today. So what do you say about that?
Hey, let's get into it. First of all, I hope everyone is doing super fantastic. And I just want to say this before we get started, no matter what condition your life is in, my friend, you do have the power to change it. You really do. You really do. And I hope that this podcast helps you in some way to get you to understand that you are not powerless. I know it might seem hopeless, or it might seem extremely tough, or it might seem extremely difficult, whatever you might be dealing with, be it physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. Life can be very difficult at times, but I just want to encourage you today to let you know that, hey, listen, you did not find this podcast by accident. And that if you apply some of these things, I'm sure that it would make a huge improvement in your life. So what are we going to talk about today? As Sagi mentioned earlier, him and Ethan and I were all just conversing earlier before we recorded the podcast, and we were talking about affirmations. I'm a huge believer in affirmations. I know that they work. And today we're going to kind of peel back the onion, if you will, and to break it down to where even a child could understand what's the purpose of affirming anything to oneself. And not only affirmations, but affirmations in conjunction with your emotions, your energy in motion, emotion, and mixed in with your thoughts. So what are affirmations? Now, I see a lot of things on YouTube, and a lot of so-called gurus tell people these things, and by all means, have at it. But it's really simple. What do you affirm? In other words, what are you affirming to yourself? If you go to a courthouse and you're about to testify, they have a Bible there, and they'll ask you, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? And some people say yes. And if you don't want to say yes, somebody might say, I affirm. I affirm that. And so when you are affirming something, you basically are coming into agreement with something. Now, what are you affirming, and what are you coming into agreement with? Well, first of all, and most importantly, before you can affirm anything, you must know what you want. This is a very crucial thing that very few people really take time to think all the way through. Everyone wants to be happy, but very few people know what that looks like. Everyone wants to make a lot of money, but very few people know how to do that. Everyone wants something, but then how do I achieve it? What am I affirming to myself? We see the profound gift of affirmations used and displayed continuously throughout our days in our world. You say, Mr. Johnson, what do you mean? When you see great buildings being built, great artists performing, entertainers, athletes, musicians, comics, or whatever it is one is doing. They weren't born that way. They became that way. You become what you think about or what you affirm to yourself. I'm going to say this to you again. You become what you think about or what you affirm or come into agreement with yourself. Now, unfortunately, many people have a very bad picture of themselves. Very many people have low self-esteem, low self-worth. Many people will focus on what they believe to be shortcomings as what's supposed to be your strengths or things that you do very well. This can be a little deep with you here. This is also by default. The world in which you exist and the society in which you find yourself is not generated for you to be successful. Somebody might beg to differ. Well, we'll prove it to you. This is why many of us have to be told to keep a positive attitude, Why would we need to be told to keep a positive attitude? Because the natural state of most people is negative. Well, why is that? Well, if you're bombarded with a narrative of war, fear, disease, pestilence, whatever, the things that all of us deal with in this world, it becomes very difficult to have hope and inspiration and to see the light at the end of the tunnel because you're just dealing with what you perceive as so much adversity. And not that these things aren't real, but nevertheless, at the end of the day, each of us have our own journey, our own cross to bear, if you will. And in doing that, you must come to the conclusion that it is entirely up to you what you filter in and out of your mind and your soul. In other words, what you affirm or come into agreement with. You see, if one agrees with poverty, they will stay poor. It is inevitable. Each of us every day are given the opportunity to affirm whatever we choose. Now, how do I do this? You must, in a sense, free yourself from this matrix, the so-called what you perceive to be reality. Most people do not think for themselves. Most people are sheep. That's right. I said it. Most people are sheep. They do not think for themselves. You, my friend, must take it upon yourself to have the emotional fortitude, the intellectual wherewithal to separate yourself and to ask yourself, who am I and what am I doing with my life? And then what do I want to come into agreement with? You see, just to sit here and tell you, just to repeat a phrase over and over again, is not only a disservice to an affirmation, but it's really not an affirmation in its fullest potential. It is not merely idle chatter that I suggest that you say. I do not suggest that at all. You must believe the things that you affirm. You must believe the things that you say are real to you. Now, am I saying you go out and you scream these things to others? Absolutely not. An affirmation is an inner conversation. All of us have the ability to talk to ourselves without moving our mouths, and nonetheless, we can also hear ourselves when we converse with ourselves. We can no longer stop talking and we can stop breathing to ourselves. We can't do it. When you wake up every day, there is no one in your head but you. Remember this. No one. But there are many voices trying to get in: fear, doubt, unbelief, worry, anxiety, impatience, anger, all these things that all of humankind struggle with, to be frankly honest with everyone. But the fact of the matter is that you still can overcome these things. Now, how do I do it? My friend, you must learn to master and to rule your own spirit. Before you can change anyone, you must learn to change yourself. The concept of change is simple. However, changing is not. We are creatures of habit, bad thoughts, bad imaginative acts, bad imaginations. Very few people have command of their vernacular and the way that they speak and the way that they think. I challenge all of you to just do one thing and one thing first. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. You can't do anything about the past except learn from it. Secondly, okay, what do I want to do? How am I going to get there? Whatever you affirm, my friend, you must believe. This is the laws of creation and all that we see upon this earth, from Elon Musk to Bill Gates to anyone else you can name, any great inventor. It doesn't matter. We're all a product of mind. We're all a product of what we affirm to ourselves. So you must affirm to yourself or believe that what you say to yourself. Now, the affirmation is one side of a coin. The affirmation does not work without the mixture of something called faith. Very few people talk about that when I do look at these videos. It's just saying, say this over and over again, say it over and over again, and it'll happen. There's some validity to that. I can't say and just brush that to the side to say that that's not have some validity, because it does. But what they're failing to tell people is the power of this thing called faith. You must believe that the words you are speaking have power. I'm not trying to sound Harry Potterish, if you will. I'm not doing that. I am simply saying to you, anything that you see around you is a product of mind. The cars, the electricity, the buildings, the condos, the cars, the watches, the food, the cement, the roads, everything we see around us is a product of mind. And before that product manifested into this realm of existence, it was affirmed or came into agreement with that it could be done. Now, all you have to do is to come into agreement with yourself, your house, your temple, if you will. Your mind was marry or agree with your heart or your emotions. your will. Then you can go do what you need to do, be it working out, starting a business, having a healthy, fruitful relationship, married, having a great relationship with your kids, whatever it is. Once you come into agreement with and say, this is how I'm going to live my life, then those things will start to manifest in your life. So didn't mean to be too long-winded, but I think a more detailed explanation of affirmations should be given, as opposed to giving people somewhat of a false sense of security by simply repeating something that will make it manifest. There is the faith aspect of it. You must believe that what you're affirming is real, and the faith that even though you don't see evidence of what you're believing for, what you're hoping for, what you're praying for, what you're meditating for, what you're working towards, whatever it might be, you still have to have faith that even though you might not see the manifestation of it in this reality, that it is on its way, it's coming to you. And that is extremely why I try to tell people you have great need of patience. You know, in the age of Instagram and Facebook and all this other platforms, and everyone's wanting instant gratification, and unless you hit the mega millions or the lottery, it usually doesn't happen that way. Not that it can't. Things do happen, but that's usually not the rule. That's the exception. But if you can apply patience and marry what you're affirming with your emotions, your heart, your energy in motion, with a great attitude. Attitude determines altitude. Don't forget that attitude determines your altitude. If you're pissed off, you're angry, you're frustrated, you're depressed, you're sad, you're mad, you're worried, all that is counterproductive. And to be frank with you, none of it actually gains anything of any value to you outside of giving you a headache and stressing you out and raising your blood pressure. If you can learn to master your mind, and this is a lifelong process. I don't want to give you the impression that Mr. Johnson's mastered this his entire life. I still have days where I might not be feeling it. I'm still a human being, a so-called human being, if you will. But the fact of the matter is you can win the championship easily. You just have to win more than you lose. So I hope this information helps you. Affirm that what you believe. Be patient. Know that it's on its way. Marry your affirmations with your emotions in conjunction with your will. Your will. You are indomitable. You're unstoppable. The only thing that can stop you is death. There are two things that stop affirmations: death and doubt. Don't doubt yourself. I'm going to say this to all of you who are listening to me again. Please do not doubt yourself. It serves the world no good to make yourself small. It serves the world no good to make yourself small around the people you so-called love. Many of you are smart, bright, intelligent, articulate, but you hide it because you don't want to be perceived as a certain way. The hell with what they think. Live your best life. Remember, it's yours and yours alone. I hope this information helps.
Love that. And Ethan, do you want to ask anything?
No, you're good. I was just going to say, affirmations are great. They generally serve me as a constant reminder of what I'm doing for my work as well. Sometimes I will forget if I don't remind myself. But I also found that you can affirm all day long. You could be affirming to yourself for 12 hours a day, but nothing still might not happen. So you probably need to also work hard so faith without works is dead, in my opinion.
Right.
Have to do both. Right. Now, I don't know if there's maybe it's 50% faith, 50% works. There's got to be some sort of equilibrium in there. But I do know I'm working most of my day, not affirming all day, unless I should put a timer on my phone. I don't know. Do you guys have a system for that, or is it just one time a day you're affirming, or is it all day long? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the fact of the matter is there is no, if you understand things and you look at it for a more of a deeper perspective, it's not a matter even of affirming anything throughout a certain period of time. And of course, faith without works is dead. You have to work with what you're doing. That's why I say you have to put forth the effort. But as I tell people, there is no substitution for work. You must work, but hard work in itself does not constitute success. Many people work hard their entire lives and don't achieve a great deal of success, be it financially or even from a notoriety perspective. More importantly, when I say to people, when you are affirming something, when you come into agreement with something, you're not just coming to agreement with it from the aspect of just vocally. I'm coming into agreement with it, not just from a vocal perspective, but intellectually. emotionally, spiritually, and every other aspect of who you are as an individual, knowing that it will take, much more than my words to manifest that which I desire. A man must work by the sweat of his brow in order for him to eat. However, there are innate abilities that all of us possess that most of us never really are aware of because it's simply not taught to us. And this is why when you see a person who is 90 years old, they're not worried about, you don't ask them about their job or anything about that. They're always looking at the things that are much more reflective to us as human beings, i.e. our families, our emotional state, and your lineage, if you will. It is not just affirming one's business. It is not just an affirmation of success. Affirming is to, on a deeper level, is to affirm this is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm a successful businessman, of course, I have to put forth the effort and the required things that are necessary in order for me to have that, because that's what I affirm to myself. So we don't want to give people the impression that all you do is, like I said, you just don't want to sit around and think if you just say something, something's going to happen. That's not the case. However, there is something to be said about those situations where one is, for lack of a better term, calling upon God, calling upon their hidden power, calling upon these things of a great purpose. And I would actually argue are actually of greater purpose than what we perceive to be as the most important thing. Because a lot of the things that we perceive to be important, i.e. working and being productive, which is true, a lot of those things we couldn't do without the things that are completely beyond our control. Let me give you an example. None of us are in control of when we wake up.
Yeah.
None of us. But we take that for granted. We take that for granted because everyone goes to sleep expecting to wake up. You see, this is why I give such credence to the spiritual aspect, because most people neglect that. Of course, we have to work hard. We have to put forth effort and, 70 hours a week. And I done all that. I've done all that. I've done all that. It's cool. It makes you productive. You can make a lot more money and all of that. But once you get some cars, some homes, or clothes, or all of that stuff that we're all strangely trying to get, and you look back on your life, and you'll never hear someone say on their deathbed, I wish I would have worked hard. Never. Never. You're never going to hear them say that. And this is why I try to explain to people. I get it. I get it. You have to put forth effort. You got to put the work in. I get it. You have to. I've done all that. That's why my beard is white. I've been through all that, the stress, the worry, fundings, and all the crap, corporate meetings, board meetings, labor, cost of goods, EBITDA, return on investment, manager operating profit, all of what you are striving for. Okay. I say this to all of you. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? There are things that are much more important than just money. There are things that when you get older, trust me, when you get older, you will appreciate the things that you've done, but more importantly, the life you live, the kind of person you are, the character you are, who are you as a person? I have one mission in life. My goal, well, I have several, but I can sum it up this simple. My allegiance is simple: to my God and to his people. I have no allegiance to any other organization outside of to the human race and to my God, and to be the best person I can be, and to always treat people with respect, and to always try to inspire them and uplift them, and to show them that there's more than one way to skin a cat. There is more than one way to skin a cat. Trust me, guys. And if you understand this, it's usually, what happens when you're older, you wish to be young. And when you're young, you want to be older. When you're 16, you want to be 18. When you're 18, you want to be 21 so you can drink. When you're 21, you want to be 30. When you're 35, you want to be 18 again. It's weird, man. All I'm simply saying to all of you, affirmations, emotions, your will, your heart, the kind of person you are, even though it might not be politically correct, even though it might not be popular conversation, it doesn't negate the fact that it's the truth, that these things matter. You are much more than a human being. You're much more than just a social security number and a credit card and a debit card and a mortgage, man. You're so much more than that. And as I've gotten older, that's what I see it's not told to them. And it's not till they get older that they realize the things that they thought were most important were the things that were the least important. And the things that you neglect the most are the things that are the most important. I say this to you, nourish your spirit and your mind, as well as your body. Nourish the people that are around you. Be a positive force in the world in which you create. Affirm only the best in what you believe. There is power in the word. There's a scripture in the book of John that says this: in the beginning was the word, and the word was God, and the word was with God. Your word is everything. When you say, hey man, give me your what? Your word. What is your word except your thoughts spoken? Your word is everything. Hey, all a man has in this world is his what? Is his word. That's how powerful your word is. So what are you affirming? You're only affirming your words. You shall have what you say, what you think. Don't ever let anyone tell you anything different. There is no one in control of your life but you. And it is your responsibility to discover it and to live it to its fullest potential, to not live in fear and doubt and anxiety and worry about others' things and their perception of you. All of us have this in common, from the finest of us to the wealthy of us to the dope addict in the street. We are all heading to the grave. There is none of you. None of you are better than anybody else. And this, my friends, is the truth. But when you are in that box 6 feet under, you will only put on one suit. You will only put on one dress. You will only be sprayed with one bottle of perfume, and all your endeavors and material possessions will be fought over by your friends and family. That, my friends, is your destiny. And that's the truth. It might not be popular conversation, but it does not mean it's the truth. What are you striving for? What are you looking for all this for? What are you affirming to yourself? I hope that you find your purpose in why you are here upon this planet. And I can assure you, it is not just to acquire material gains. If so, if that is your primary goal, so be it. But I will guarantee you have failed in some way, and God's odds are you probably have to repeat the test. This whole place that you find life to be is just a big school, and we're all the students. I hope you affirm that. I hope it helps.
How that? Yeah. I mean, I think, we can wrap this episode up with that. I just wanted to ask, for anybody who is new to affirmations in general, and because, so just to, you guys know, I have my affirmations app. It's pretty new. It's just now out in the App Store. I'll plug it here. And that means that, like, I get to talk to a lot of people and explain about the app, and they're like, do you know what affirmations are? And they're like, no, what? So I have to even explain to them from scratch what affirmations are, right? So just to anybody who is doing affirmations that wants to explain, because most of the people probably listening to the show already know what affirmations are. So just now the question is, like, how do they explain what affirmations are and the benefits of them to other people who don't know what affirmations are? If we can finish with that.
Sure. Well, I would say that first of all, before you tell anyone what something is, you must learn it for yourself. A man or a woman cannot give what they do not possess. But what is an affirmation? I would simply say this. Write something down that you believe. What is it that you want? So say, for instance, you're wanting to be healthy. I want to be healthy. I want to get in shape, and I want to lose a couple of pounds. So I'm going to affirm to myself, if you will. I'm going to affirm to myself, instead of me saying I'm a fat piece of shit, excuse my French, just somebody might look in the mirror. We're all grown here. Somebody look in the mirror and have a horrible self-image of themselves. It's a guy, he's look under these rolls of fat, and he sees these sores underneath his belly. And so this distorting this image. Now, even though he wants consciously to improve himself, subconsciously, as people like to say, he's looking at himself. So even though he wants to do this, subconsciously, he's self-sabotaging himself.
Yeah.
Because this is the image in which you see. So this is what I want you to explain about an affirmation. That image in which you see, you have to write that image out. So write down the exact thing what you want. And then once you write it down, you have to repeat it. Now, how often should you repeat it? It is simple. Until you believe it. Until you believe it. Yeah. We learn by repetition. That's how human beings learn. We call repetition practice. You have to do it over and over and over. And so I'm not like Ethan's part, I'm not just saying it, but now I'm going to the gym. So I'm not just saying I'm looking good, I'm healthy, but now I'm actually in the gym with Ethan doing 3 sets of 10. I'm on the treadmill. So there's the faith with the works mixed with my will and emotions, and I affirmed it. And then in time, it manifests. And that's how it works. So whatever it is you're wanting, whatever this negative thing, or it could be a positive thing, write your vision down and make it plain. You must write it down. Don't just try to go off it in your head. You'll forget. Write it down and then look at it and try to memorize it if you can. So I affirm that to myself. I see what it is I want to do. You follow? And then I put forth the work. So I wanted to lose weight. I affirmed it, but now I'm in the gym. And not only am I in the gym, I'm going to take a step further. Now I'm also eating better. I'm eating healthy. So it's not just affirming, saying something. Faith with the works equal manifestation. I'm going to say this to you again. We can wrap this up, guys. Faith plus work equal manifestation. Anything other than faith and work equals miracle. Faith and work, manifestation. Anything other than that is miraculous.
That's an equation right there.
Yeah.
Like that.
Pay them more.
Breaking down things that seem like voodoo, but when you think about it, it's really not as voodoo or magical as you might think it is.
Not at all.
And there's a book about it. It's called The Miracle Equation. It's really cool. Yeah, it's exactly what you just said. So
I've come to that conclusion. I've never even read that book, but I've learned just through experience.
Yeah.
Or hopefully we're gonna do another podcast here. We all shoot too. So, but I just want to tell everyone who's listening to me, your faith and hope and love are real things, man. People they discount it. They discount it, bro. And those things are the things that will make you more powerful than you can realize. But anyway, blessings and peace to all of you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. J, Ethan. That wraps up this episode. Guys, if you enjoy this episode, please be sure to rate us on Apple Podcasts and rate us on Spotify, wherever you're listening to this. You're on YouTube? Fine. Give a like, subscribe, and write some kind of comment anywhere you're seeing this. Also, be sure to share it on social media. Tag us. Feel free to tag us. You see our tags probably here if this is the video. But you can just find us on Instagram and just tag us. It's really important for us to know that you're here, that you're getting value. And that's pretty much it, guys. See you on the next episode. Peace.
Peace.